Hello, my name is Jason Sheeran, and I want to welcome you to the Jasonverse. Anti-Thomas is an E2 class tank engine who lives on the island of Sodor off the coast of the United Kingdom in another dimension. He has 6 small wheels, except he's painted orange with the number -1 on his side. He lived alongside his friends Anti-Edward, Anti-Henry, Anti-Gordon, and Anti-James. He was a kind engine for the most part, but loved to play tricks on the other engines, especially Anti-Gordon, the largest, strongest, and fastest of them all. Anti-Thomas's early years played out similar to his blue counterpart, arriving on Sodor from the mainland to help out with the shunting. He was red at the time and a bit on the cheeky side. He would later prove himself a worthy adversary to the railway by helping his world's James, who was painted white at the time, after a serious accident occurred due to some faulty wooden brakes. He was rewarded with his own branch line and 2 blue coaches named Annie and Clarabelle. Anti-Thomas was also rewarded with a splendid new coat of orange paint, just like his world's Edward and Gordon, and became Sir Topham Hatt's number -1. As for Anti-James, he got himself new metal brakes along with a new coat of smart green paint. Anti-Thomas loved his new branch line and was happy to be a part of Sir Topham Hatt's railway. Along the way, he became close friends with an engine named Anti-Percy, who was painted red. Anti-Thomas would still play tricks on the other engines from time to time, but he knows that the most important thing of all was being really useful. It wasn't until one tragic day when Anti-Thomas's life took a turn for the worse. Sir Topham Hatt was on holiday just like in the original timeline, and another controller took his place. During this time, Thomas hadn't talked to Percy in a while after a heated argument that took place a few months before. What made matters worse, an evil diesel named Diesel 10 arrived on the island and began to terrorize the engines. The diesel, along with that world's Splatter and Dodge, were looking for the magic buffers that would lead to the magic railway. Diesel 10 finds the buffers and proceeds to enter them, with a suspicious Thomas following slowly and quietly behind. When Thomas tries to thwart Diesel 10's plan, he orders Splatter and Dodge to stop Thomas and Lady. The 2 steam engines escape with the 2 Class 08 diesels not far behind. Diesel 10 then exited the portal himself, and using his claw he began to destroy the buffers, leaving Lady trapped on Sodor. Then a chase ensues similar to how the original timeline went, except it was Splatter and Dodge who was chasing Thomas and Lady instead of Diesel 10. They escape the 2 diesels after they fall off the same viaduct Diesel 10 fell off of in the original continuity. Just after the bridge, Thomas and Lady were stopped by Diesel 10, who derailed Thomas and grabbed Lady. The diesel then began to rip the magic engine apart, much to Thomas's horror. When he was finished with Lady, Diesel 10 was about to give Thomas the same fate, but suddenly, out of nowhere, Percy intervened and ended up taking the blow. All poor Thomas could do was watch in horror as his best friend was ripped to shreds. Then Diesel 10 resumed his attempt to kill Thomas. However, as his claw was about to grab a hold of him, he stopped. The diesel then looked at Thomas and said, "You ain't worth my time, puffball," before leaving. Thomas was too shook to reply and just laid there as Diesel 10 left. All he could see was Lady's lifeless corpse and a badly injured Percy as he waited for help to arrive. A few hours later, help did arrive in the form of Edward and the breakdown train. Sir Topham Hatt, who rushed home early after he had heard about the incident, was on board Edward. He spoke kindly to Thomas and told him everything was going to be all right, but however, after that incident, Thomas would never be the same again. It took some time, but Thomas was finally repaired and ready to go back to work. However, the same couldn't be said for Percy. Thomas asked the workmen about him, and they said that Percy was unfortunately damaged beyond repair, and that they had no choice but to scrap him. This filled Thomas's boiler with a deep and terrible rage. He wanted nothing more than to get revenge on Diesel 10 for ruining his life. One night, while all the engines were sleeping, Thomas snuck out of his shed to hunt the Diesel down. He knew that Diesel 10 was still out there, and he was going to find him. Once he found Diesel 10 at a smelter's yard on the mainland, Thomas began to attack the Diesel. At first, Diesel 10 had the upper hand, but then he made a fatal mistake. He said something about Percy that absolutely enraged Thomas. The little orange tank engine then felt something he had never felt before and began to biff Diesel 10 backwards towards the smelter as hard as he could. After quite a few bashes, Diesel 10 gave up and jumped off into the fire. Thomas looked down and muttered, "Good riddance," before puffing away. Sodor was not the same afterwards. Edward and Henry both took turns trying to comfort Thomas, but it was no use. Gordon and James belittled Thomas for not being able to save Lady and Percy, and would call him a traitor and a disgrace to the railway, much to Edward and Henry's shock. However, no one knew about Thomas murdering Diesel 10, and the little engine intended on keeping it that way. As the years went on, things slowly went back to normal. Thomas was still depressed, but he knew he had to carry on. He didn't want to let Sir Topham Hatt or the entire railway down. One night, however, there was a disturbance. Thomas went to investigate and saw some type of portal that led to another world, and there he saw Diesel 10 still alive. Enraged, Thomas entered the portal to hunt him down once again in an attempt to kill him for good.